Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. This is Carrie GK and I'm the VP of Marketing at Sensage. I'm here with Joe Gottlieb, the President and CEO of Sensage, and today we're going to spend 5 minutes with Joe. We're going to talk about a couple of things. One, the notion that hacktivists are not really people to worry about and why it is that we're all worrying about them if that's the case, and the recent stories around the arrests of some of the folks involved in the breaches that we've seen in the news. And then we'll close out with just a little bit about how it's impacting our insurance policies, our the lawsuits that are coming up due to some of these breaches, and the tension that that's causing in large enterprise and small. All right, so first, I read an article about hacktivists and this idea that they're just these harmless graffiti artists who are trying to, say more about a particular message than to actually cause harm. So what do you think about that?
Well, I think I don't know that there's really clear distinctions. I think there's a continuum of activity out there. If you talk about hacktivism per se, clearly what it's been coined to suggest is that people have a big message, or they want to tear down an existing message, or expose or distract from an existing message they disagree with. So there's obviously a lot of political targets in hacktivism, as well as anti-commercial, sort of sort of populist things like that. And so I agree that there's an expressionist component here that's going on. I mean, it's hacktivism, it's expressing an opinion one way or another. I don't necessarily agree that they're not out there to do harm. I mean, they leave some serious impacts in their wake. They're obviously using methods that are very advanced, very sophisticated. While you're in there letting your message, be expressed, who knows if you're above doing something that's more damaging or stealing something that's available to be stolen. And so I don't think we can paint really easy categories around these activities. We have to be aware. We have to treat these activities with some serious respect and concern. Yes, it's true though that pure hacktivism is mostly about expressing a message or degrading a message that's out there. So we were also going to talk about, well, there's been some activity rounding up some of these folks,
right.
And clearly I think law enforcement was able to generate some positive news, at least from their point of view of the whole topic. I believe it was last week, something like 14 to 16 of alleged members of Anonymous and or LulzSec were arrested in a couple or three different states, and we'll see how those cases pan out. But clearly, it was a big statement to be made by law enforcement, suggesting that they are in fact tracking these activities, they are in fact collecting evidence, they are in fact utilizing evidence and subpoenas and due process to pursue these digital, criminals.
And I don't even know how you put a price on the business disruption that they caused, regardless of what their original intent was. When we think about, you bring up a couple of times the Lockheed Martin case where, nothing was stolen, nothing was breached, but the mere fact that they were able to access a network led to so much, disruption in the Lockheed world and in our worlds as well, that it just seems as though, something's got to give there, even if, they do seem harmless at first blush.
So what about insurance? Can people take out insurance to protect themselves?
Cyber insurance.
From this?
Yeah.
Seems to be another topic that's sort of getting into the news a bit, as driven by the Sony PlayStation Network breach. So the latest, rap about that is that the insurance company is stepping forward and saying, well, you didn't have coverage for this particular event, so we're not going to be paying. In fact, we may be suing you to preempt any claim that you might have. And in this case, I believe the insurer is citing that while Sony had property damage type traditional coverage, they didn't have cyber insurance per se, which apparently is a pretty rapidly growing category, as you might expect. What's going to be interesting is to see what are the sort of like when you have a good driver discount, good grades discount when you're young.
What's the criteria to prove,
or a non-smoking discount for medical insurance.
Right.
What will be the advanced security practices discount you might be able to qualify for when you have cyber insurance,
or what's the insurance company going to say? Yes, okay, we'll pay on that because you proved that you did all the proper steps to
due process.
Yeah, exactly.
You were taking care of the situation.
Right.
I think that very similar to compliance regulations, right? So now there'll be just another driver for companies to
Big
have
driver.
more proactive and established processes to make sure they have the data they need, to make sure they're proactively exercising the vigilance they need to do to protect their environments, so that in addition to compliance checks, if in the event of a breach they have a claim, they're going to be able to show that they did their part to be able to really justify that claim, as opposed to be exposed and not have the benefits of that insurance protection because they didn't take those steps proactively.
Yep, that's a good point. So I think with that, we would just say, obviously, in our case, we're seeing more and more proactive organizations looking for ways to get ahead of all of these issues, looking for ways to put in place the right practices, the processes that are interconnected, that understand how to look at their logs beyond just the real time, so that they are able to prove at a later date to an insurance company, to a government agency, to law enforcement, that they are able to keep track of the data, the event data they're generating. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back with another 5 Minutes with Joe.